Okay, give me that count in. All right. Okay, hello.
Hello?
I'm Graham Mc Farlane, and welcome to today's speed lecture entitled A Year of Revolution, Part A, 1968. Okay, we're going to try and do this one in 5.5 minutes. Won't be easy. DIY television in full effect. Okay, you ready? And let's start the clock. Okay. Phew. Now let's start with a definition of revolution. So, revolution, first of all, political upheaval in government or nation state, a sudden vast change in the situation or the way of thinking and behaving. Okay, so when you've got revolution in the air, just as there's no sherbet without a dip, lace without a shoe, goat without cheese, you're going to have a shit full of protests going down. So, therefore, number 2, what were the protests about? Okay, let's have a look. First of all, the Vietnam War, which had been raging for about 5 years at that time, was about to get really gnarly with the Tet Offensive in January this year. Secondly, authoritarian regimes and out-of-touch stroke-date regimes all over the place, of course. Fascists, communists, capitalists, military dictatorships, you name it, all over the place. Thirdly, destroying the old order and ways of doing things. The promise of a new hope. Pause and breathe, and then move it on. Okay, so then, who was protesting? Well, first of all, students primarily. Look at them, look, they're having it large. This was the year of student protests, probably personified most in France, where within 3 months of no more than a handful of them getting uppity about the lack of mixed dorms, no shagging in other words, Paris was brought to a standstill. In May, as the workers and average Joes joined up with them, and up to 1 million people turned out the Parisian streets, nearly bringing the French government down in the process. Heady days, hopeful days. Who else was protesting? Well, anti-war demonstrators all over the world. Communists were protesting. This is Dubček, Alexander Dubček, leader of Czechoslovakia in '68, whose relaxed, more democratic version of communism introduced during the so-called Prague Spring, promised a hope of socialism with a human face. Unfortunately, the Ruskies said, no, we're not having that, invaded the country in August, reversed all the reforms, stamped down on any opposition to the hardline Soviet regime. Very tragic, very sad. The black community, they were protesting. Civil rights, ghettos, burning. America cracking under the strain of 200 years of systematic racism. Okay, where were we? Who else was protesting? The long-haired types. Look at them, hippies, freaks and beats. This lot, well, I'll tell you what, in fact, this lot decided that since there was no one worth voting for in the US presidential elections this year, they'd vote for a pig instead, called Pegasus, which was duly arrested, in keeping with the spirit of the times. Okay, moving up. What time, please? We're doing well? Okay, so number 4, a year of people getting shot. Oh, that's right. Everybody was getting shot in '68. Martin Luther King was getting shot in '68. Bobby Kennedy was getting shot in '68, just as he was about to probably get elected as US president and pull America out of Vietnam. Tragedy. Just like his brother 5 years earlier. Oh, fickle finger of fate, your irony is a foul temptress. All right, who's this? This is Rudy Dutschke, protest leader. He was getting shot in his head. He's got a bullet in his head, yes. Okay, so students were getting shot. We know that. Oh, this is tragic. Check this. This is Mexico, where 10 days before the start of the Mexico Olympics, soldiers opened fire on student demonstrators and others and killed over 50 of them. Just mowed them down. 10 days before the start of the Olympics. Crazy. Echoes of the past, harping in the ear of the present. Oh, yes. So, preachers, politicians, protesters. Andy Warhol was getting shot. Even pop artists. In 1968, anything that moved was getting shot. Alrighty, moving on. Number 5, what were the artists doing? Well, let's have a look. The Beatles are hightailed to India, hanging out with the Maharishi. There's Lennon, in this year rewrote Revolution. Goes something like this. We'd all like to change the world, baby, but if you're talking about destruction, you can count me out, stroke in. Non-committal, in other words, then. Alrighty, but the Stones, they released Street Fighting Man, chopped up a bit more. Jagger got involved a bit. Alrighty, let's move on then. Finally, The conclusion. Did 1968 change anything? Well, one way of looking at it is to say, no, not really. The Vietnam War didn't end for another 6 years. The Soviet Union carried on for another 20 years. And corruption and hypocrisy in leaders carried on unabated. And with no seeming end to it. But flip the coin. Flip it over. There was a new hope. On December 24th of this year, the Apollo 8 space mission promised new worlds of discovery. And the following year, of course, Apollo 11 would see the first landing on the moon. But, okay, perhaps, most importantly, 68 showed that when the oppressed come together, then the oppressors are confronted with two possibilities, to change and accommodate or to crush and consolidate. In 68, it was ultimately crushed. But the problems, the causes that it brought to light would not go away. And we'll see in parts B, C, and 1999 and 2001 that the hope of change that 68 promised would not die with it. History is a cantankerous beast that will do as it pleases, in other words. It's all about timing. Timing, talking of timing. How are we doing? Stop the clock.
5 minutes 15.
Alrighty, thank you very much. My name is Graham Mc Farlane. Goodbye.